That night, Las Vegas was filled not only with neon lights and the clinking of crystal glasses, but with a tension so thick it seemed to hang in the air. Inside a packed casino showroom, thousands of eyes were fixed on a single figure standing beneath the stage lights. Elvis Presley stood confidently at center stage, his voice warm and powerful, flowing through the room and making the audience forget the noise and chaos of the world outside. His music wrapped itself around the crowd, pulling everyone into a moment that felt timeless. No one imagined that what should have been an ordinary night of entertainment would turn into one of the most intense moments ever witnessed on a Vegas stage. In the front rows sat a man whose presence alone was enough to make waiters nervous and gamblers avert their eyes. He was known as the most feared mobster in Las Vegas, a figure whose name was rarely spoken out loud. Stories about his power circulated quietly through casino corridors, stories of how a single nod from him could change someone's fate in an instant. That night he stared at the stage with cold, calculating eyes, as if he were judging not only the music, but the man delivering it. Elvis continued to sing, unaware that a silent tension was building in the room. Each note he sang was met with applause and admiration, yet something felt off. A few audience members exchanged uneasy glances, sensing a shift in the atmosphere without understanding why. Then, in the middle of the song, just as Elvis reached one of its most emotional moments, a deep voice from the crowd sliced through the music like a blade. "Stop." That single word froze the entire room. The music cut off instantly. The band behind Elvis went still, fingers suspended in midair. The stage lights suddenly felt harsher, illuminating Elvis as he turned toward the source of the voice. Everyone knew that anyone bold enough to interrupt a performance like this was no ordinary man. The mobster stood up slowly, his movements calm but filled with menace. He stared at Elvis without smiling and said in a flat, commanding tone, "Sing for me." It was not a request, it was an order. Across the room, people held their breath. Some looked down to the floor, unwilling to be seen witnessing what might follow. For a few long seconds that felt like minutes, all eyes remained locked on Elvis. Many expected him to step back, to diffuse the situation with polite words or nervous humor. After all, this was Las Vegas, a city where even a small mistake could carry dangerous consequences. But what happened next was the last thing anyone expected. Elvis stood tall. He did not retreat. He did not show anger. His expression remained calm, his gaze steady, as if he fully understood the risk standing in front of him. He stepped closer to the microphone, took a slow, deliberate breath, and did something that stunned everyone in the room. He began to sing, not with a trembling voice, not with fear. He sang with full power, deeper emotion, and greater intensity than before. Every word sounded honest, every note carried courage. The song was no longer just entertainment, it became a statement, a declaration that he would not bow to intimidation, that his music was his own, and the stage was a place where he would stand with dignity. The room, once thick with tension, fell into a profound silence, filled with awe. Even the sound of glasses clinking at the bar disappeared. The mobster remained standing, staring at Elvis without blinking. But something shifted in his eyes. The threat faded, first by curiosity, then by something far rarer, respect. Elvis reached the final note of the song and held it, long and powerful. When his voice finally faded, there was no immediate applause, not because the audience was unimpressed, but because they were still trapped in the moment. Then, suddenly, applause erupted like a storm. People stood to their feet, cheering and shouting, releasing the emotion they had held in since the interruption. The most feared mobster in Vegas smiled faintly. He gave a small nod towards Elvis, then sat back down without saying a word. That simple gesture was enough. Everyone in the room understood what it meant. Elvis had passed a test that many men would never dare face. That night, Elvis earned more than applause. He earned the respect of someone who rarely respected anyone at all. The story spread quickly across Las Vegas, from casino to casino, from whispered conversations to animated retellings. Each version was told with awe, as though people were describing the birth of a legend they had witnessed firsthand. For Elvis, it was never about proving himself to a mobster. It was about staying true to who he was, about refusing to let fear take control of the stage he had fought so hard to claim. His courage that night became proof that real strength doesn't come from threats or violence, but from confidence, integrity, and belief in oneself. Years later, people still spoke of that night, not as a tale of danger or intimidation, but as a story of a singer who chose to sing when the world expected him to stay silent. A moment when one song, delivered with fearless conviction, shook an entire room and changed how everyone saw him. And in Las Vegas, a city that never sleeps and rarely forgives, the name Elvis was spoken differently after that night, not just as a superstar, but as a man who stood face to face with fear and sang louder because of it.